sky cracked open on the third day of summer. People in every city stopped what they were doing and looked up. First it was just a light, bright, white, unnatural. Then came the thunder. Not the sound of rain or storms, but something else. A low, deep hum that made glass shake, hearts tremble, and animals run. The world watched as giant ships fell from the sky, silver, black, and glowing red at the edges. They hovered above the major cities: New York, Beijing, Moscow, Sydney, Karachi, Nairobi. No one knew where they came from. No message, no warning, just presence. Then came the fire. In less than 8 hours, Earth's defenses were gone. Satellites burned in orbit. Military bases vanished in blue light. Fighter jets turned to dust in the sky. The United Earth's coalition tried to resist. They launched nukes. They fought with everything they had. But it was like using sticks against thunder. The alien ships, later known as the Zorkond, did not just destroy weapons. They erased them. In the ruins of London, a boy named Cale watched. As his father was dragged away in chains, Cale was only 9 years old. He and his younger sister Mara were hiding in a sewer tunnel under their apartment block. Their mother had sealed the hatch and kissed their foreheads. Her last words were, "Stay quiet. Stay alive. I will find you." She never came back. Above them, the screams continued for hours. Then silence. Days passed. They lived on old canned food. Then came the day a strange metal drone flew into the tunnel. It spoke in a flat voice. "All survivors must report for registration. Failure to comply will result in termination." Cale was smart. He told Mara to keep quiet. But the drone scanned the area and sent a signal. 10 minutes later, black-armored soldiers entered the tunnel. Their armor hummed softly. Their faces were covered. Their eyes glowed. They spoke no words, simply grabbed the children and dragged them to the surface. Earth was gone. The city still stood, but everything was different. Giant alien machines floated in the sky. Roads were filled with lines of people in chains. Some were crying, some were silent, some looked empty, like the hope had already died. Cale and Mara were taken to a massive labor camp built on the ruins of Berlin. Their humans worked under the control of Zorkon overseers. The aliens never spoke in any language humans understood. They gave orders through buzzing signals and holograms. Those who disobeyed were punished immediately, not killed worse. They were erased. Erasure was the most feared punishment. Didn't leave a body. One moment a person stood beside you. The next, they were gone, turned into ash and soundless wind. People learned fast. Cale worked in the waste systems. Mara was sent to textile division. They saw each other once a week, for 7 minutes. It was the only time Cale smiled. He would always give her half his food. She would always try not to cry. 10 years passed like that. Humanity, once proud, once free, was now nothing more than a workforce. Factories ran 24 hours a day. Children grew up knowing only fear. No one remembered the stars. No one dared to dream. All across the galaxy, humans were taken to other slave worlds. Some were used for mining, others were test subjects for strange science. Earth became known as Sector 9AF, the Origin Forge. But in the shadows, something still burned. Some of the old ones remembered the last days of the war. Whispers spread between slaves, quiet, dangerous whispers. One name passed from ear to ear, always spoken in hushed tones. Sigma Protocol. No one knew what it was. It's only that, in the final hours before Earth fell, the United Earth Coalition had activated it. Secret command, hidden deep inside Earth's network. The aliens had tried to destroy all human code, but something slipped through. Something hidden in the dark corners of Earth's systems. Cale heard the whispers. 2. Now 19, tall and strong from years of labor, he moved silently through the tunnels of the waste system. He had learned how to hide, how to steal scraps of tech, how to listen without being noticed one day. While cleaning an old maintenance vault near the base of a ruined metro station, he found a panel with strange markings. It was human-modeled style before the fall. Behind it, a thin, dusty tablet blinked weakly. He wiped the screen. It powered on. There was no sound, just text. If you are reading this, the fire still lives. Cale's breath caught in his throat. He looked around, heart pounding. No one was nearby. The message continued. I am Commander Ilya Voss. I do not know if you are friend or foe, but if you are human, then listen well. We were not defeated. We scattered. We prepared. Sigma lives. One day a spark will rise from the dust. That day, you must run. Find the Phoenix. Tablet died. Cale sat in silence for a long time. Commander Voss, a name from history books. Leader of the Second Earth Defense Fleet. Rumors said she vanished in the final battle above Mars. Some believed she died with the rest. Others believed she escaped. Cale didn't know what to believe, but that message, it was real. He didn't tell anyone, not yet. He spent the next week searching the tunnels for more old tech. Most of it was dead. But one night, in the lower levels near the old Brandenburg core, he found another device. A cube, smooth and black. It pulsed with faint light. He touched it, his vision blurred. A map appeared in his mind. A network, tunnels, nodes, signals. The cube was connected to something larger. Hidden systems, still alive, still waiting. Of the nodes blinked near the Himalayas, another near Antarctica, and one. On Earth's moon, he dropped the cube, gasping. His nose bled. But he smiled for the first time in years. Sigma wasn't dead. It was sleeping that night. Cale told Mara everything. She didn't believe him at first. Then he showed her the tablet, the cube. She touched it and saw the same vision. Her hands shook. We can't fight them, she whispered. We don't have to, Cale replied. Not yet, but we can find the others. Others, that was the second part of the message Voss left. We scattered. That meant some humans had escaped. Maybe in ships, maybe hidden in deep cryosleep, somewhere out there. Someone was waiting. But time was short. The Zorkon were changing. In the last year, they started building something massive in orbit, a ring around Earth. The slaves called it the Chain. Some said it was to trap Earth forever. Others believed it was a weapon. Cale had seen the blueprints. It was both. A control system designed to send out signals across human slave colonies. A command to erase any who rebelled. One signal. One moment. Billions could die. He had to act before it went online, but he couldn't do it alone. Cale began to speak to others. Quietly, carefully. He asked questions, planted ideas, ignored how people reacted. Some ignored him. Some were afraid, but one night, a girl named Saren approached him. She was a tech handler in the drone control yard. She had seen Cale sneaking into restricted zones. Instead of reporting him, she offered help. I know where they keep the old engines, she said. Human ones. From before, I've been repairing them in secret. Cale stared. Why? She shrugged. Because I believe Earth is not finished. Others joined over time. It's an old man who once served in the orbital navy. A teenage boy who knew how to build power cells from scrap. A woman who remembered the names of the fallen cities. They called themselves Dustborn. A name from the ashes. The group met in the deep tunnels once a week. They planned, mapped, and dreamed. Cale showed them the cube, the map, the message, and one day Cale found something else. A small drone like the alien ones. It was Earth-made. It was broken, half buried under steel waste. He fixed it. It came alive. The drone's voice was quiet, childlike. Phoenix protocol detected. Initiating memory recall. Please wait. Cale froze. This was it. The drone projected a figure, a woman in a red commander's coat. Her voice echoed through the tunnel. This is Commander Ilya Voss. If you are hearing this, then Sigma lives. We lost Earth, but not the war. Left behind codes, coordinates, weapons. If you can find them, you can rise. If not you, then someone else. Keep the spark alive. Keep humanity alive. Then the drone shut down forever. No one spoke for a long time. Kale looked around the circle. Dust, rust, scars, broken lives. But in their eyes, for the first time, he saw something the Zorkon could never understand. Hope. He stood. We are. Not just workers. Not just survivors. We are what they fear most. We are the next beginning. No one clapped, but every head nodded. Outside, the sky glowed red above Earth. The ring neared completion, and far away, in the darkness beyond Pluto, something blinked, something human. The wind howled through the tunnels beneath the ruins of Berlin. Cold, stale, full of the scent of metal and old ash. Kale sat against the stone wall, staring at the broken drone in his hands. His fingers worked carefully, but his mind was somewhere else above him. The Zorkin ring around Earth was nearly complete. He had seen it clearly now. A control system. Not just for Earth, but for all slave colonies. Once it was activated, they could send a command across the stars into every human. With a control implant would die. No escape. No warning. Kale had no implant. Somehow his father had removed it before the soldiers took him. Mara didn't have one either. That made them dangerous. It also made them targets. The Dustborn had grown. It's from 6 to 21 people. All workers, engineers, or cleaners. No one trusted soldiers. They were too broken, too angry, too watched. But workers knew the systems. They moved through the bones of the world. Quiet, hidden, still. Kale knew time was running out. Saren tapped him on the shoulder. Her dark eyes were sharp as always. She held out a small slip of cloth with a printed message. They found another code bunker, she whispered. In the old Paris ruins. Kale nodded. We need to go there soon. Saren hesitated. There's something else. A boy named Juno. ... He says his grandfather was taken during the fall. But not by Zorkin. By humans. Military, he said. They left in a black ship. Kale frowned. Are you sure? She nodded. The boy has drawings. Same symbol as the drone. The phoenix. Kale stood slowly. That made 3 stories now. Different people who had heard of black ships fleeing Earth during the last hours. Ships not taken by the enemy. Ships that vanished into deep space. If they were real, someone out there had escaped. And if they escaped, they could return. But first, Earth had to rise. That night, Kale and 3 others, Saren, Mara, and Juno, slipped out of Camp Sector 1 to B. They used the waste tunnels, just like Kale had done for years. Past the rusted train stations. Past the giant fallen statues of old leaders. Past the watchtowers and the glowing blue orbs that scanned the streets. They moved like shadows. Paris was 3 days away. The land between was dead and dangerous. Strange alien machines still roamed. The broken cities, cleaning up ruins or collecting salvage. They never attacked unless disturbed. But no one trusted them. They traveled at night, slept during the day, hiding in crushed buildings or deep cellars. Once, they saw a Zorkon patrol ship fly low over the hills, scanning the area with long, red beams. The group didn't move for 2 hours. On the 3rd night, they found the bunker. It was hidden beneath the ruins of an old museum. The stairs led down into darkness. At the bottom, the walls were lined with human writing and emergency symbols. It had been sealed since the fall. Kale used the cube. The door clicked open. Inside, lights flickered on. Dim, faint, but still alive. The room was filled with old Earth tech screens, command terminals, maps. Most of it was broken. But one station near the center was blinking. Kale touched it. A voice filled the room. Welcome, Sigma operative. Clearance confirmed. Begin data transfer. Saren stared in shock. It still works. They copied everything. They could maps, supply points, ship locations. One file showed something unexpected. An underground launch tunnel beneath Greenland, hidden deep beneath the ice. Still powered. Still waiting, and another file showed something even stranger. A signal, faint, repeating every 88 hours. Coming from the edge of the solar system, Kale's heart raced. "We need to go back," he said. "We need to tell the others. We need to prepare." Mara stepped forward. "You said there was a launch system under Greenland. Is there a ship?" Kale didn't answer at first. Then slowly, he said, "I think there's more than one." They returned to the camp 5 days later, tired, hungry, but alive. The others gathered in the deep tunnel, listening as Kale showed them what they found. Maps, data, coordinates, launch sites. A path forward, but not all of them were ready. An old man named Rook shook his head. "You want to fight the Zorkon? With old tech, the rusted metal? You'll get us all killed." Kale didn't argue. He only said one thing. "If we don't try, we die anyway." That silenced the room. Over the next weeks, the Dustborn began. Working faster, Saren built new power cores from scrap parts. Juno reactivated old scout drones. Mara found a hidden room with old Earth weapons, nothing powerful, but enough to defend themselves. Kale spent every moment studying the cube. He found new layers, new paths. Some connected to deep satellite signals, some to AI fragments still running in forgotten servers. One day, while in the northern section of the tunnel, the cube glowed brighter than ever before. It projected an image, a human face, female, young glowing eyes. "Are you the last?" the AI asked softly. Kale whispered, "No, not the last, but maybe the first." The AI smiled. Phoenix accepted, activating subroutine flame wake. Suddenly the ground shook all across the camp. Hidden systems came online. Ancient terminals, emergency beacons, long-dead code. The Dustborn didn't know it yet. But Earth had just lit a signal fire. Far above, on the edge of space, a hidden satellite blinked. And in a dark corner of the galaxy, a ship picked up a signal it had not heard in 70 years. The voice of Earth. The Dustborn prepared for war. But Kale knew they weren't ready yet. The real war hadn't even started. He stood on the roof of a half-broken tower and looked up at the Zorkin ring. It glowed like a noose. Soon it would tighten, but not without a fight. Not without fire. Not without dust. The cold wind moved through the broken ruins like a ghost. The sky was always gray, now choked by alien dust and machines too high to see. But below the ruins, beneath the stone and metal, the Dustborn were no longer hiding. They were building. Kale stood in the center of the old operations room beneath Camp Sector 1 to B. Around him, wires hummed, lights flickered. Broken screens showed fragments of Earth's old systems. It was still chaos, but it was alive. Saren entered, holding a small device shaped like a heart. She handed it to Kale. Fusion core. Clean. Fully charged. Kale nodded. "You did it." She wiped sweat from her forehead. "Barely. I had to strip 2 drone units to make it work." They both looked toward the corner of the room, where the cube now floated in a low magnetic field. Its glow was no longer faint. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Ever since it activated the Flamewake protocol, something had changed. The AI. Inside it, whatever it was, had started speaking. Not with full words, but in whispers. It would hum quietly at night. Sometimes it would say names. Old names. Human names. Names no one had spoken for 70 years. Kale had started writing them down. Saren was worried. What if it's broken? What if it's just echoing random data? Kale shook his head. It's looking for someone. They didn't know who. But the cube was trying to reconnect with something. With someone, Juno, the youngest of the group, ran into the room. His face was pale. "There's something outside. On the ridge. You need to see it." Kale and Saren followed him up the old stairwell to the surface. The sun was weak behind clouds. Snow dusted the ruins. Beyond the walls of the camp, across the broken highway, something moved. 3 figures in black. Walking slowly, not Zorshan. Something worse. They were tall. Too tall. Their bodies were covered in armor that seemed to shimmer and vanish when looked at directly. No footsteps, no sound. But wherever they walked, the ground darkened slightly. Kale. Raise the binoculars. No. Saren whispered the name like a curse. Voidcasters. The Zorkon, as silent hunters. Everyone had heard of them, but few had ever seen one and lived. They didn't speak. They didn't fire weapons. They simply arrived. The Dustborn watched in silence. As the figures paused at the edge of the road, one of them raised its hand. It pointed toward the ruins. Toward them, then they vanished. No sound, no trace, just gone. Kale knew what that meant. They know. Saren clenched her jaw. How? Juno stepped back, afraid. The signal. When the cube activated, it sent out a pulse, right? What if they traced it? Kale nodded slowly. It's possible. There was no time left. That night, the Dustborn packed everything they could carry. Tools, maps, weapons, power cells. They had to move. Go deeper underground, or head for one of the other signal points. The AI showed them Greenland, the Himalayas, or the moon base. Kale stood before the group. We have two options, he said. We can keep hiding, keep running, or we can finish what we started. Find the Phoenix site. Find the launch base. Bring the others home. The room was quiet. Then Mara stepped forward. Her voice was steady. We move. We find the base. We light. The fire. The rest nodded. They moved out that same night. 10 hours into their journey, moving through an abandoned Magrail tunnel under the Alps. The cube began to glow brighter than ever. Kale took it from his pack. It floated into the air, spun slowly, then stopped. A hologram appeared. A face. Human. Older. Worn. Gray hair. One eye covered with metal. Designation, Sentinel-9. You are attempting unauthorized access to AI Core Sigma. Kale stared. I'm not unauthorized. I'm human. Earthborn. I have the Flamewake code. The hologram paused. Then the voice softened. Confirmed. Kale Ivers. Genetic match. Protocol authorized. Kale stepped forward. Kale stepped forward. Who are you? I am the Whisper, the AI said. One of 7 ghost minds created before the fall. My purpose is to find the scattered, to protect Earth's memory, to wait for the signal. Kale's hands trembled. He gave the signal. The Dustborn are ready. Tell us what to do. The Whisper paused again. You must find the Phoenix Vault, deep beneath Greenland. There the last fleet sleeps. Ships, weapons, AI cores, frozen in time. Waiting, Juno gasped. It's real. The Whisper turned to Kale. But beware. The Voidcasters are not just hunters, they are seekers. They feed on memory. They are drawn to thought. You must shield your minds, or they will find you again. Saren stepped forward. How do we shield our minds? The Whisper's eyes glowed. With unity, the AI explained that humans generate unique thought patterns. When united in purpose, something the Zorkon and their machines cannot mimic. Alone, they were targets. Together, they were invisible. As one, they could vanish. It wasn't magic. It was science. Old, strange, and human. That night, in the silence of the tunnel, the Dustborn gathered and linked hands. Kale held the cube. The Whisper hummed softly, and for a moment, every mind felt the same thing. Connection, purpose, home. Above them, the Voidcasters searched, but they found nothing. The Whisper had told the truth. The next day, the Dustborn emerged near the edge of an old supply base built before the fall. It had once launched weather drones and atmospheric scanners. Now it was filled with bones and snow. But beneath it, Kale knew was a tunnel, a path that would lead them to Greenland and to the Phoenix Vault. But something waited there. The Whisper. Didn't say what? Kale felt it in his bones, in his blood. A presence. Old. Watching. Not Zorkin. Not Voidcaster. Something. Human. But different. As they entered the base, the cube pulsed once more. A final whisper. Be ready, Dustborn. The fire you carry may burn more than chains. Snow fell in silence as the Dustborn entered the base. The building was half buried in ice and steel. Signs of old battles were everywhere. Burned walls, shattered glass, blood turned black by time. But deep below, something still HUMMED taught Kale, led the way. The cube pulsed in his hand, guiding them like a compass. Every floor took them deeper. Lights flickered, walls groaned. But the power was still there, just barely alive after 70 years. At the bottom, they reached a wide metal door. Rusted, thick, sealed, tight, but the cube floated forward, released a soft pulse of light. And the door opened with a loud hiss. Warm air rushed out. Behind the door, a long tunnel stretched ahead, lined with blue lights, and at the end, cold. Pods, hundreds of them, human dash-shaped. Mara stepped back, eyes wide. What? What is this place? Saren approached a pod and wiped the frost from the glass. A Don lay inside, muscular, tall, scarred, frozen in perfect stillness. His chest rose and fell slowly, like he was only dreaming. Kale looked at the screen beside the pod. Name Commander Rykon, Sorrel Unit, Sigma Force Earth, last, defense status. Cryosleep, emergency standby, time asleep. 72 years, he turned. To the others, they're not dead, Juno whispered. Sigma Force. They were legends. Saren was already moving. Can we wake them? The whisper's voice echoed from the cube. Not all. Power is low. You must choose. Kale clenched his fists. How many? 5. For now, he looked at the sea of sleeping warriors. Each one could be a hero, a killer, a leader, or broken. By the fall, he stepped forward and chose carefully. Commander Rykon Sorrel. Captain Alia Morn, Tactical Ops. Sergeant Haskell Finn, Demolitions. Lieutenant Nova Rel, Pilot. And finally, Dr. Lena Vex, Biosystems Engineer. The room shook as the pods hissed open. Warm vapor poured out. One by one, the 5 stepped forward. Eyes blinking, muscles stiff. Minds catching up to a world long gone. Commander Sorrel looked at Kale. Report. Kale didn't hesitate. Earth fell. We survived. Zorkon ruled the galaxy, but Sigma is waking up. Sorrel blinked slowly, then nodded once. Good. Then let's get to work. They moved fast. The old launch systems were still in place. Deep underground, a massive Earth ship lay silent, half-buried in rock and frost. It was called the Courage of Terra, not as large as a battleship, but fast, armed, beautiful. Nova, the pilot, ran her fingers across the control panel. She's been waiting for someone, Kale asked. Can she fly? Nova grinned. She was built to fly through stars. Yes. The Dustborn loaded the ship with what little they had scrap weapons, repaired drones, maps, and the cube. Then they sealed the base behind them. As the engines hummed to life, Kale stood at the main screen, staring at the dark sky above. We're going up, he said. The Courage of Terra launched in a storm of fire and sound. It punched through the clouds like a hammer, broke the edge of space, shook off dust and silence. And for the first time in 70 years, a human warship flew free above Earth. But they weren't alone. The Zorkon ring lit up the moment they entered orbit. Warning. Lights flashed, voidcasters deployed from the shadows of the ring. Sorrel barked commands. Morn. Lock weapons. Nova. Evasive flight pattern Gemathri. Finn. Keep your finger on the trigger. The battle began. Red beams fired from the alien ring. Sharp, fast, deadly. The Courage danced between them, rolling, dipping, burning its way through. Nova flew like she was born in the stars. Come on, she whispered. Kale watched as a Voidcaster ship appeared black and sharp, like a knife made of shadows. It moved too fast, almost impossible to track. Then vanished, Finn shouted. Where did it go? The ship appeared behind them. A sharp blast hit their engine bay. Alarms screamed. The ship spun. Sorrel grabbed the rail and yelled, "Return fire!" Morn locked a missile and fired. Brilliant blue flash exploded across the sky. The Voidcaster dodged. Then the cube spoke. Enemy pattern detected. Weak point identified. Loading. Firing solution. A line appeared on Morn's screen. She didn't think. She fired. The missile hit dead center. The Voidcaster's ship tore, apart in silence. The others backed off. Sorrel looked at Kale. "What is that cube?" Kale answered, "Hope." The battle was over, but the ship was damaged. They couldn't stay in orbit. Nova steered the Courage toward the dark side of the moon. There, hidden behind old mining satellites and space junk, they found something unbelievable. A hangar.old. Massive. Human-made. It opened for them automatically inside. Lights. Power. Silence and something more. Another signal. Another AI. Another piece of the puzzle. The Whisper's voice returned. "You have done well. But this was only the first flame. Beyond this moon lies the Ashburn fleet." Kale turned to the others. "You mean there are more ships?" The Whisper answered slowly. "Not ships. Wraiths. Ghosts of steel. They wait in the dark." "For a voice?" "For your voice?" The Whisper faded. The hangar lights dimmed, and Kale, for the first time, understood. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were about to lead something much bigger. The galaxy wasn't ready, but humanity was waking up. The hangar on the moon was quiet. Dust floated in the air. Old machines rested in silence. Kale walked slowly through the massive chamber, boots echoing on the metal floor. Round him were strange shapes under black tarps, hidden tools, ancient, parts human tech no one had seen in generations. In the far corner, a control panel blinked weakly. The cube floated to it and pulsed once. The panel lit up. A low hum spread through the walls. Then the Whisper returned. "You have reached Watchpoint 7, it said softly. Last known signal of the Ashburn fleet was 1.2 light-years from Sol. Coordinates locked. Uploading now." Kale stared at the screen. A new map appeared, showing the solar system, then zooming out. Past Pluto. Past the Kuiper Belt, at the edge of space. Shadow. Saren leaned forward. "That's a black hole." Whisper replied, "Yes, and hidden in its orbit."
How goes? Wait. Nova stepped closer.
"How did human ships survive there, that far out?" "They didn't just survive," the AI said. "They adapted." The Ashburn fleet was real. Kale turned to the crew. "We're going." The Courage of Terra left the moon under cover of silence. Its damaged hull repaired as best they could. Behind them, Earth's orbit was crawling with Zorkon patrols. Ahead of them, cold, endless black. The journey took 7 days at maximum thrust. The crew barely slept. Sorrel spent every hour training the Dustborn, teaching them how to fight, how to think like soldiers. Morn and Finn upgraded the ship's weapons. Juno mapped safe zones between asteroid fields. Kale stayed in the command seat, staring into the dark. He didn't speak much, not after the cube began whispering again. Not words this time. Voices. Memories. Echoes of long-lost battles. The sound of human ships burning. Screams. Victory. Defeat. The AI was remembering, and then they arrived. It started as a shimmer of bend and light near the black hole's edge. Then, one by one, the shadows took shape. Ships, hundreds of them, massive, angular, human-made, silent and still, like sleeping giants. Their hulls were burned, scarred, covered in strange growths from years in deep space. Saren gasped.
"Yes."
An entire fleet. Kale said nothing. He could feel it, a pressure in the air, presence. The cube floated forward. Connection established, it said. Waking Ashburn Command. A light blinked on the largest ship, then another, and another. Soon, the entire fleet began to gloat in lights along their frames, like eyes slowly opening. A voice came through the Psalms. Rough, cold. "Human, this is Admiral Voss. Identify yourself." Kale froze. Sorrel's mouth opened. It can't be. Kale stepped forward. I'm Kale, Ivers. Earthborn, Flamewake operative. I carry Sigma protocol. Silence. Then the voice spoke again. DNA confirmed. Bloodline authorized.
Welcome.
Aboard Kale Ivers, son of Admiral Ryan Ivers. Kale staggered back. What? The voice was calm. You were never supposed to be on Earth. Your parents launched Sigma protocol. You were meant to be raised in orbit. Safe. Kale shook his head. I don't remember you were hidden. Your mother died to keep you alive. The bridge was silent. Saren whispered. Your father was the last admiral of Earth's High Command. The Ashburn ship slowly began to move engines, warming after decades of sleep. Admiral Voss continued. We stayed here, hidden, for 70 years, waiting for a signal, waiting for the flame. You lit it. Kale stood tall. I didn't do it alone. Voss's voice changed slightly. Then perhaps the galaxy still has hope. The courage. Docked with the Ashburn flagship, the Silent Judgment. It was 5 times the size of any living Zorkon vessel. Its halls were dark, its systems old but deep inside. Humans still lived. Not many, but enough. They were pale, thin, grown in stasis, half cybernetic, trained by AI. They called themselves the Wakened. They had been prepared for war their entire. Livs.Kale walked with Admiral Voss through the command tower. She was tall, wrinkled. One eye was black glass. Her coat was faded but proud. She looked at him with a strange softness. You look like your mother, Kale asked. Why didn't you return sooner? Voss sighed. We couldn't break the ring. Zorkon built it to trap us in silence. It blocked all signals, all power lines. We needed someone to rise from within, someone to light the flame wake. Kale asked, Are you ready now? Voss smiled. We were born ready. That night, across the deep void of space, the Ashburn fleet came alive. Engines roared. Shields lit up. Cannons powered on. And on Earth, the Zorkon ring picked up a signal unlike anything they'd seen since the fall. Human, war code. Sigma class. Full burn. They didn't understand it, but they knew what it meant. War. Stars shifted around the Ashburn fleet as it moved through deep space. The darkness felt alive, cold, hungry. But the humans inside those ancient warships no longer feared the void. They were ready. On the bridge of the Silent Judgment, Kale stood, beside Admiral Voss, staring at the long holographic map stretching across the center of the command deck. Red lights marked Zorkon territory. Yellow dots showed known slave colonies. And now, for the first time in 70 years, there was blue on the board. Human blue. Ashburn blue. Where do we strike first? Kale asked. Admiral Voss folded her arms. Where it hurts. World where 10 million human slaves dug beneath a boiling sun. Zorkon drones patrolled its skies. No one had escaped in years. We liberate it, she said. Make sure the galaxy hears the scream. Within minutes, the plan was set. 4. Ashburn warships would strike fast. The rest of the fleet would stay cloaked near the system's edge, ready to move. The courage of Terra, still smaller but faster, would lead the insertion team. Kale, Saren, Mara, and Commander Sorrel volunteered to go planetside. The rest of the Dustborn stayed aboard the Silent Judgment, coordinating the long-range attacks and preparing for what came next. This was only the first flame. The Courage dropped out of warp near Avon Prime's orbit. No warnings, no threats. Just silence. The Zorkon defense grid activated immediately. Drones swarmed from orbital towers. But Ashburn tech was faster, cleaner. Human minds worked with the ship's AI in perfect unity. Saren sat at the weapons console, her hands steady. 3 drones down, 4th locked. Flash of light, another dead drone. The ship broke through. The lower atmosphere, smoke and fire, trailing behind it. The planet below was red and cracked, lit by molten rivers. Giant drills tore into the ground, and transport ships flew back and forth like worker ants. Kale stared down at the surface. They built all this on human backs. Sorrel stood behind him. Then we burn it to the ground. The drop pods launched. Kale and his team landed in the heart of Sector 4, the main slave hub, armed only with Ashburn pulse rifles and small AI cubes strapped to their backs. They moved through the shadows like ghosts. The camp was a nightmare. Children barely alive, adults with metal clamps on their necks, bodies piled in corners. Overseer. Drones hovered above, shocking anyone who moved too slow. Kale stepped into the main square and raised his weapon. A nearby drone turned toward him. He fired. The drone fell in 2 pieces. Silence fell across the camp. Humans looked up in shock. Some cried. Some crawled away in fear. Kale stepped onto a broken crate, shouted with every ounce of strength in his lungs. "We are not your workers. We are not your cattle. We are humanity and we are rising." Sorrel took out the control tower. Sarin jammed the orbital comms. Mara ran to the control stations and unlocked the slave gates. Doors opened, chains fell, and the camp exploded in motion. One by one, slaves stood, staggered, looked at the sky and saw, for the first time, a ship bearing the symbol of Earth. Some knelt in disbelief. Others screamed enraged. Then they picked up whatever they could find. Tools, broken rods, stones, and joined the fight. Above the planet, the Ashburn fleet struck. Targeted attacks. No waste. No mercy. Zorkon mining stations exploded. Orbital guns fell silent. Within 2 hours, Avon Prime was free. It was the first time in 70 years that a human world had cast off the Zorkon chains and across the galaxy. Slave worlds heard. The story, rumors moved faster than light. The humans have returned. Earth burns again, but this time it burns them. The Ashburn walked the stars. Not all believed it. Some feared it. Some rebelled before proof came, paid the price. But others began to rise. On Varus Neen, slave moon miners broke through a prison gate and sent a message in old human code. "We stand. Just give us fire." On Kortak, scientists held hostage for decades, rigged their labs to explode, taking 3 Zorkon bioships with them. Everywhere. Humans remembered what it meant to fight, to resist, to believe. But victory came with danger, because now, the Zorkon were listening. They had seen uprisings before, small ones, weak ones. This was different. This was organized. It's intelligent, focused, and human. The High Warlord of the Zorkon Empire, being named Scarzel, the Eternal, summoned his legions from deep space, over 1,000 warships, all older than Earth itself. Their job, crush the rising flame. Kale knew they were coming, but he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. The Ashburn fleet began to move faster now, liberating colonies, striking key fuel stations, sending encrypted messages to every slave network that still had power. The AI cube, the Whisper, acted as their guide. It grew smarter with every mission. It remembered faster. It spoke clearer, and it began showing Kale something new. Visions, not memories. Possibilities. Possibilities. Kale would see flashes while sleeping. Earth rebuilt. Human children playing under blue skies. Ashburn ships flying in peace, but also darker visions of betrayal, fire, something old awakening beyond the stars. He didn't understand it, not yet, but the Whisper always said the same thing. Your fire wakes more than the fallen. One night, as the courage of Terra prepared to return to the main fleet, a strange transmission came in. It was human code, but ancient. Older than anything in the Ashburn archives, Nova. It's patched it through. The voice was weak, distorted, but human. "This is Dr. Avel Quinn. Is anyone alive? Is this Earth?" Kale leaned forward. "Who are you?" "I was part of Project Helix. We were hidden during the fall. Frozen. We just woke up. There's something here, something wrong." The coordinates came through, not far. Boss gave the order. "Go see, but be ready." The Courage jumped through a short-range gate and emerged near an asteroid cluster wrapped in thick clouds. Inside was a hidden science station, old, human. Burned, they docked. Kale, Saren, and Nova entered. First, inside it was quiet, dark blood on the walls. Flickering lights, they found one survivor, Dr. Quinn. She was shaking, his eyes wild, not injured but afraid. We were working on biological upgrades, emergency defenses in case Earth fell. We called it Project Helix. Kale asked. What went wrong? She whispered. We tried to make us better, stronger, smarter. But something else came through. They looked at the back wall. A cryopod had been shattered. From the inside, black liquid covered the floor, and a strange symbol had been carved into the metal. Wall, not human, not Zorkon. Older, the whisper spoke from the cube in Kale's hand. This is not ours, not theirs. The stars are watching. Kale stared at the broken pod. We woke up, turned to Saren. But what else did we wake up with us? The Ashburn fleet had grown. In the silence of space, more ships had joined them, hidden vessels once thought lost. Old flamewake beacons lit up across broken human colonies. Messages flowed like fire across the stars. Humanity lives. We rise again. Strike now. Kale stood at the center of the War Council aboard the Silent Judgment. Beside him stood Admiral Voss, Commander Sorrel, Saren, Nova, and now Dr. Vel Quinn, still shaken, but recovering. A giant hologram filled the war table. At the heart of it, the Zorkon. THRONEWORLD. C. The birthplace of the Empire. A black planet wrapped in rings of fire and steel. Guarded by thousands of ships, with a surface crawling in towers and living fortresses. Voss stared at it for a long time. No one has ever touched that world. Kale's voice was steady. Then we'll be the first. Saren frowned. Even if we break through, we don't know what's waiting down there. Dr. Quinn stepped forward. We do. She tapped her cube. A hidden file opened one she'd never dared show before. The screen displayed a diagram of a massive alien structure under the planet's crust. Not Zorkon. Something else. Something ancient, Quinn said. It's a control node. A relay tower older than both our species. Zorkon didn't build it. They found it. Used it. Sorrel asked. Used it for what? To bind, she said. To break the minds of whole civilizations. Sends out a signal, something that suppresses willpower, dulls rebellion. It's not just fear. It's forced loyalty. It's why their empire holds. Kale's jaw clenched, so we burn it. Voss nodded slowly. Then it's decided. We don't just fight the Zorkon. We break the machine that lets them rule. Oh. It took 8 days to prepare. The Ashburn fleet broke into 6 task groups. Each would strike at different target supply lines, shipyards, slave hubs to draw the Zorkon-S forces away from the throne world. But Kale's group task, Group Sigma, would go straight for the heart. 6 Ashburn warships. To stealth, craft, and the courage of Terra leading the spear. The plan was brutal. They'd drop through the upper defenses using stolen Zorkon codes. Once in the atmosphere, they'd strike the southern polar weak point in the planet's planetary shield. From there, ground team would enter the core tunnels and plant a fusion bomb inside the control node. One shot, no retreat. Either it worked, or they all died. The assault began with fire. Ashburn ships hit the outer systems hard. Explosions bloomed. Across orbital stations, Zorkon forces scrambled to respond, but they were spread thin. For the first time in generations, their perfect control was cracking in the middle of the chaos. The courage of Terra slipped past the ring, cloaked, silent, heart-pounding. Kale sat at the front, helmet on, armor tight. Saren and Sorrel stood beside him. Mara, Juno, and 2 of the best Dustborn commandos joined them. The dropship detached. It fell like a comet, through ash and lightning. Down into the hellish skies of Zorkatal, alarms rang. Missiles rose, but they were too late. The ship pierced the poles, crushed and smashed into a hidden canyon right where Dr. Quinn's map had marked the tunnel's entrance. They moved fast. Every second mattered. Down into the dark. Through tunnels covered in pulsing black veins, the air buzzed with static. It felt alive. Kale's team split into pairs, clearing sectors and planting charges. At the end of the main tunnel, the node stood like a tower made of bone and glass, pulsed with alien light. Strange whispers filled the airwards in no language. Nova covered her ears. "It's trying to talk." Saren growled, "No, it's trying to control." Kale walked to the core and planted the fusion bomb. The AI linked with it, synced the timer. Then something moved. A shape tall, thin, wrong. It stepped out from the shadows. Not Zorshan, not human. It had no eyes, no mouth. Its skin was smooth black metal. And behind it, a dozen more. Dr. Quinn had been right. The signal wasn't Zorkon, it was them, something older. The Zorkon had only been pawns. The creatures spoke not with sound. But through the air itself you rise. You burn. But this is not your galaxy. To claim, Kale raised his rifle. "I don't care who you are. You enslaved my people. You built this prison." The creature tilted its head. "We built order. You bring chaos. We remember what you are." Kale didn't flinch. "We're human." He fired. The fight was brutal. Sorrel was wounded. Mara was dragged into the shadows, screaming. Saren took a blade to the arm but kept shooting. Nova unleashed a grenade that took down 3 of them. Kale reached the core again. The bomb was set, 1 minute to detonation. He turned to his team. Time to go. They ran out of the tunnels, through fire and ash. Creatures behind them, howling without mouths. Dropship was waiting barely. They jumped in, lifted off, and behind them. The world shook. The bomb exploded. The core tower shattered. And for the first time since before the fall, the control signal died across the galaxy. Millions of human slaves suddenly felt it, a weight lifting from their minds, a fog clearing, and in that moment, they knew they had been used, abused, enslaved, not just by force, but by something deeper. And they screamed, not in fear, but in fury. Planet after planet rose. Chains snapped. Guns turned. Zorkon commanders were thrown from towers. Patrols were torn apart. Human prisoners became generals. Farmers became warriors. The fire became a wave. The wave became a storm. The Zorkan Empire cracked, and the Ashburn fleet, no longer hiding, launched the final strike. But as Kale stood on the bridge of the courage, watching the chaos spread, the whisper in his cube said something he didn't expect. "You have won this battle, but something else watches." He stared at the stars, remembering those strange figures beneath the surface. They hadn't died. They had only watched. Kale clenched his fist, one war at a time, and he gave the order that changed everything. Burn the throne, and raise the flag. Zorkatal burned, the once mighty throne world of the Zorkon. Empire was nothing but black smoke and shattered stone. Its towers fell, its skies cracked open, and in the streets, the humans once slaves rose with stolen rifles makeshift, armor and fire in their eyes. Above, the Ashburn fleet unleashed everything it had. No more stealth, no more waiting. It's just raw, focused wrath. Kale Ivers stood on the command bridge of the Courage of Terra, the flagship now leading the last wave. His armor was scorched, his jaw was bruised, but his eyes held something fierce, ancient anger now finally free. "All ships," he said calmly into the coms. "No mercy. Break them." From the dark void, the order rippled outward. 1,000. Guns lit up. Zorkon dreadnoughts screamed as their hulls split. Fighters spun out in flames. Orbitals shattered. Their fleet, once proud and feared, crumbled like dry leaves. Saren stood beside him, bleeding but steady. "They're retreating." Kale stared at the map. "No," he said. "They're running." In every sector, the story was the same. Earth's colonies were rising. Mars, Europa, Titan, each one throwing off the chains. Dustborn battalions led revolts in the Rim. Former slaves captured alien warships and turned them back toward Zorkan space, and at the center of it all stood Kale. Not as a king, not as a conqueror, but as a symbol. The last flame. He didn't want it, but he would carry it. Admiral Voss returned from the front with Nuzercon command had collapsed. Their emperor had vanished. Some thought he died in the core blast. Others said he fled into deep space. It didn't matter. The throne was empty. Now Kale stood in its place, and the galaxy watched. The old flamewake signals lit up, broadcasting a single message to all species. All systems. Humanity is free. We are no longer your slaves. We're the fire that never died. And then they added one more line. We remember. That word spread like thunder, because the galaxy had forgotten what humans could become, what they once were, what they now were becoming again. 2 weeks later, Kale stood on Earth's surface, on the ruined steps of the United Nations Tower in Old Geneva. Beside him were Nova, Saren, Sorrel, Juno, Dr. Quinn, and surviving Ashburn officers. Crowds filled the shattered city. Not just humans, but free allies from other races who had risen alongside them. Flags waved, children cheered, Dustborn. Saluted. Kale raised his voice. Earth was broken. Our past buried. Our name almost erased. But we rose again. Not because we are perfect, but because we endure. We were enslaved, beaten, scattered, and we came back stronger. We raised a black and gold banner at the symbol of the flamewake and planted it in the cracked concrete. This is not the end of war, but it is the end of silence. The crowd roared. For a moment, there was peace. That night, Kale stood alone on a high balcony. The stars above were clearer than they had been in centuries. No smog, no blockades. No Zorkon signal jamming. The light just stars and silence then. The cube pulsed. The whisper spoke. Its voice was lower now, more human. I have completed the deep scan. Kale frowned. Of what? The structure beneath Zorkatal? It is not destroyed. He turned sharply. What? It collapsed. Yes. But something remained. Something deep beneath the core. Kale said nothing. The whisper continued. There were 12 figures down there. You saw them. Kale nodded slowly. They were not the builders. He turned cold. Then who were they? They were watchers, the whisper said. Kale stepped back. Watching what? The AI replied with something he did not expect. Watching. Us. Kale stood frozen. The whisper's voice changed again. Deeper. Sharper. I've translated one last signal they sent before the detonation. It repeated the signal. Kale felt it like ice. One flame has risen. Begin the others. He stared at the cube. How many? Pause, then. Unknown. Kale looked up at the stars. He thought the war was over, but something else was coming. Something worse. Something older. The galaxy didn't fear humanity because of what it had done. It feared what it might do next, and Kali understood why. He didn't smile, he just whispered, "Let them come." And the stars blinked, watching back.